Hey there, here we go. Welcome to the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast, just for woodshop owners like cabinet makers, architecture millworkers, closet companies, those of you interested in the business of the woodshop business. If you are that, this is the right place for you. Today, we're going to be talking about very simple systems, the kind of simple systems that help you sit up, shoulders back, chin up, take a deep breath in, and take a breath out. That kind of power, that kind of simplicity, it really centers you, and you can build a really solid business based on that kind of thinking, that kind of attitude, that kind of mentality, that kind of simple systems. Today, we're going to be talking to Brad Cairns. You guys know Brad. He is a very busy guy. You know Brad from Quantum Lean. You know from him from Stolbeck Machinery. You know him from Kaizenify. You know him from his podcast, which is also on YouTube. This show is as well, by the way. His podcast and YouTube is called The Shop Floor. And then he was also the founder of My Door Factory. Busy guy, and I'm glad to have him here as a guest today. I'm going to be a guest on his show as well, so make sure you catch both of us there. Brad and I are starting to do more stuff together. Let's see what that has in store for it. By the way, before I forget, at the time of this recording, it's November. This is going to go live sometime in December. We have a training webinar coming up. It's called Make 2025 My Best Year Ever. If you want to get on the wait list for that, now is the time to do it. Make sure you send me a text, get yourself on the wait list. Anyways, before I forget, I wanted to say that you could find Brad Cairns on LinkedIn. His last name is spelled Cairns, Brad Cairns. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Why not connect there? It's a professional place for professionals to connect. Hey, why would this episode be important, especially if you run a shop and you're not into lean or lean manufacturing? Well, today we're going to be talking about waste and rework is killing me. What do I do? That's the topic we've got in front of us. So let me ask you, do you have waste? Do you have rework? Are you like one of my clients who built an entire kitchen out of white melamine because somebody forgot to read that the second word was white oak? Then there's lots and lots of stories about waste. But I want you to think, before we get into this episode, the cost of an hour for you. Have you ever used the Go Back report to figure out the cost of an hour for yourself in your shop? Like, what does it actually cost for you to run your shop for 1 hour? What are your real actual costs? That's where we start finding profitability and time savings for you. And that time can be applied right back to you spending more time for your family. Rework. Man, I bet I've seen a tenth of what you've seen in the world of rework. It's frustrating. It costs us money, and we have, all the time in the world to go fix something when we should have done it right the first time. I learned that from Rick Patak. Look, in a nutshell, this whole podcast is about the mindset of growth and success for you as a business owner. And you know what that means? When we start talking about mindset, I'm going to tell some dad jokes. Now, why dad jokes? And why bad jokes? And why dad jokes delivered with poor timing? That's all I know how to do. I want to get you laughing because the mind, working from the neck up, that's the best place that we can be. That is where the success will come. You will do more by being clever than you will having unlimited money. Always, creativity will win the day. So let's do all these on the theme of lean manufacturing. Now, what is lean? If you're not putting it in place, lean is where you talk about a number of simple concepts, simple systems that Brad and I are going to talk about in a second, that fall under a couple of categories. One of them is we track defects. Defects are like spilled coffee. Nobody wants to clean them up. We talk about waiting times. Waiting times are like bad jokes, like this segment. Everyone's stuck pretending they're okay. They're not. We talk about wasted motion. Do you have wasted motion on your shop floor? Or, and don't forget this, do you have wasted motion in the office or in one of your processes, like in sales or estimating? Wasted motion is like a treadmill at the gym. You're clearly working hard. You're sweating and your face is red, but you're going nowhere fast. Do you have wasted motion in your shop? What about processing waste? Ooh, that's when doing less actually does more. And how about unutilized talent? That's something else that lean dives into. Let's stop putting your genius to waste. Okay. Now, you could have a Kanban board idea. Here's a good logo or slogan, I guess, for a t-shirt. You can make a t-shirt that says, when the team stops guessing, we start progressing. See a little rhymes there, right? And then we use Kanban boards. Kanban, because chaos is not a manufacturing process. Those might not be the kind of jokes you can share with little kids to make them giggle, but it is something you can share with the rest of your team that makes them think a little bit differently about how we're processing the wood that we're doing. Hey, we're going to be talking about some new tools as well at the end of today's show. So stay tuned for the end, because I have a very specific training segment where I simplify and solve a common business problem. Now, the two tools that go along with that are related to time and waste. So nicely aligned with what Brad and I are going to be talking about here today. I'll talk about those at the end of the show. But at any point, if you ever have questions for me or my team, shoot me a text. My cell phone is 315-903-7853. And just say, Dom, let's talk, and we'll talk. Let's get to it, and we'll see you on the other side. Mr. Brad Cairns, how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Dominic. Good to see that smiling face again.
Thank you. I see we're color matching today.
That was not planned.
Did your mommy call? Did your mommy call me and
That's
say,
right.
let's all dress the boys in blue? Maybe it's the color of cabinetry. The color of cabinetry success is blue and white.
Well,
yeah, it works. Nice to see you again. I think the last time I saw you face to face, you and I were having breakfast
out in Vancouver. I remember that.
That was a good brekkie.
That breakfast started at 8 a.m. and ended at like 12:30 p.m. We almost had to order another meal.
I know. Yeah. Well, that's good though, right? We're like-minded. We're out there trying to help people. And so it's about time we have you on the show.
All right. Well, here I am.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, some people, Brad, might not know who you are. And today you and I are going to be talking about really your sweet spot, which is, people that have concerns about waste and rework and quality control. I think the first person I would say, you got to go talk to Brad. So why don't I do this? Brad Cairns, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing cabinet makers all over the world?
All right. Well, I'll give you the short version, the elevator speech. But I started out about, oh my God, 30, wow, more than 30 years ago, doing woodworking.
I can see you doing the math in your head as you're
2 out of 30.
Oh,
just stop. Plus 20. Let's just say that. Yeah. And I was doing it the hard way for about 20 years, and I came across a book called The Toyota Way. And I couldn't believe that there was another way to do things. I just had no idea. So, we dove in headfirst into that. Fast forward about 10 years. Not 10 years, sorry. Whilst we were studying the Toyota production system, we'd hired a lean consultant to come help us.
You had your own shop at this time, I take it.
Yes. I've been manufacturing since I was 16. So
are you kitchen cabinets, architecture, millwork? What's your
I literally have done it all. We've done kitchen cabinets, commercial millwork, display cabinetry, store fixtures, components, healthcare furniture. I don't think there's an aspect of the woodworking industry we haven't done for several years at a time. So we hire Jim Lewis is our lean consultant. He comes in and basically just rips the blinders off, and we're just like, wow, I can't believe
how do we get
this.
anything done? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I stayed in touch with Jim for the next 5 or 10 years. And of course, we're just like, we're going. And Jim calls me one day and he's like, are you sitting down? I want you to take over the consulting company.
Oh, I didn't know that's how you got into this. Yeah.
Yeah. I said, no, I'm not doing that.
No, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, yes. And I said, no. And he said, yes. And I said, no. And he said, yes. And the week later I was in Texas, with my first lean customer. And we've been traveling North America teaching lean now for 15 years.
Yeah.
Thank
goodness you are.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think some people think
we talk about the stress and the pressures on a cabinetry owner, millwork. I say cabinetry, but we're talking about all aspects. It's incredible because there's so many moving parts that some other industries just don't have. You've got schedules, samples, you've got the variances. What if your machine, if there's so many things.
Yeah.
And trying to make it predictable is where you guys come in.
Yeah. We tell everybody, I think that nobody on earth appreciates what goes into their kitchen. They just don't. They open the door and they look and they're like, nice. And
Well,
they put their dishes in.
hey, Brad, it's just a bunch of rectangles. What are
It's
you
just
talking
a
about?
bunch of boxes. But
Right?
it takes millions of dollars and a lot of coordination, and it's crazy. So from the consulting side, I realized that the business I was in is not where I wanted to be.
Hmm.
We stopped doing commercial millwork altogether, and we started a door manufacturing company. We've been doing
Of
that
course you
ever
did.
since. And then thanks to lean, we say, I think it was Plato that said that necessity is the mother of all invention. I want to change that to lean is the mother of all invention,
Oh,
by
okay.
Brad,
All right.
because if it wasn't for us thinking lean, we would have never designed the equipment now that we design here at
The
Stolbeck
Stolbeck. Yeah, the
Machines.
Stolbeck sign. Yeah.
Um, because we designed that just for us at the door company. And when we realized, wow, we just solved a problem for the whole industry, we put one video on YouTube of
Mm,
our sanding robot, and the rest has been history. We have them all over North America. We're shipping to Australia, Ireland. I
really?
mean, they're going everywhere. So this is a real problem that we solved. Um, and then so we've got the consulting company that's feeding into the door company, that's feeding into the machine company, and then the another piece of the puzzle was we have these businesses now. How do we manage them and how do we keep them improving?
Mm.
And so we started yet another company called Kaizenify, which is all of the lean tools that we're using in all our businesses made available to the world. And that's so your SOPs, your Kanban cards, your measuring, your dashboards, like all of that stuff is all in there.
One of our coaching clients said he used Kaizenify
Yeah.
to did all of his Kanban cards, and I think they made like over 1,000.
Wow.
He probably like really got into it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's the coolest thing about when we met. It was like your customers
Are the same
already
as yours.
like they're
Yeah.
using our stuff and our customers know you. It was just a
It's
neat
the same type
connection,
of people. It's the kind of people who recognize if I want to get to the next level, I need new tools.
right?
Just whatever those
To
tools are, right? Just in general.
totally,
Yeah.
totally. So for my to come full circle with my story, the last piece of the puzzle for us was simply to make sure we're giving back. Because that's a big lean principle is to pay it forward. So we started a podcast similar to yours
Yeah.
called On the Shop Floor, and we're posting on all the social media platforms at least once or twice a day, and we're just trying to put out as much content as we can to help get customers out of where we spent
Too
25
much time.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's crazy.
all of that equals being on Dominic's show.
Yeah,
So,
that's how you get here.
I mean, you got to
Yeah.
be a pretty big deal to be on this show, from what I hear. So
It
I'm
is. It's
honored.
true. Actually. Yeah, it's true. Even my mom's never been on the show, so you should be on
Ooh.
it. Yeah. But listen, let's thank you. Great intro.
Yeah.
You spanned a lot of angles of the challenges and the opportunities that we have in this business. And by the way, there's just never been a better time to be in our industry. One day we'll say, "Do you remember the golden years? The best times ever?" It's today. There's you have to do no marketing or very minimal marketing. And it's not even the expensive kind of marketing. The guys that are doing the commercial work, go talk to somebody. If you go talk
Right.
to 10 people, they'll all say no today. But within 2 weeks, 3 of them will call you back and go, "Hey, you said you had some time on your production schedule. Is that still true?"
Yeah.
They're like, "Well, let me check and see what I can move around." You go blow the dust off everything. You're like, "Yeah,
We got it.
right." And then on the residential side, the economy, you call it what you want. This is not a political show, but oh my gosh, nobody is building smaller, cheaper kitchens for themselves. It's just this race upwards. It has never been a better time. I would challenge myself on that same thing. We got to add more youth to the industry, but we're also attracting more women to the industry at the same time. So
Mm.
it is the greatest time ever to be in the finished wood trades.
I tend to agree. And one thing, my biggest regret from being in the manufacturing space right now is that 5 years ago, I didn't automate enough
Oh,
because, 'cause-
yeah.
so
Explain.
think
Yeah,
about that for a second.
yeah.
So what happens is business ebbs and flows, right? So we get busy and we're not busy and we're busy and we're not busy. And we're into this space now where the custom guys who are building the big homes and the big kitchens and all that stuff, they're slammed. Like there's a
Mm.
lot of people that are really busy with that work. Now, for us, because we're like second tier supplier to those people, um, I wish 5 years ago we put into automation what we're putting in today, because if I did it 5 years ago,
Ah,
it would be paid for today.
right.
And that means whatever amount of automation you do is paid for. So I don't care what ROI calculation you're using. When you enter the word free, it looks really, really good.
Looks really, really good.
And then this would allow us to fluctuate our pricing to
Yeah.
stay busy and stay profitable, lesson
Yeah.
learned,
Because you already
right?
had those. Yeah. And it's, I thought you were going to come at it from the side of saying, using machinery to lessen the load on people. So you could have one person running two, maybe three machines. So you need less crew. You
Uh,
still have great people,
all, all of those things, yes. The
all,
quality, the speed, the less effort, um, less demand on the human being. Like Henry Ford says, put the work on steel, let people run the machine.
yeah.
So we shouldn't be cutting the wood.
Mm,
We should be managing the machine that's cutting the
cuts me.
wood.
Okay. I appreciate you saying that because you and I went into this conversation assuming that everybody listening understands lean manufacturing.
Right.
And I need a checkup from the neck up because one of the things that I hear, and you might hear this as well, is somebody who says, well, Dom, you don't understand. Everything we do is custom. So you can't laugh yet. I'm not done. Hey, Dom, everything we do is custom. So lean manufacturing, we're not sorting
Doesn't work.
peanuts here. Lean's not going to work for us.
Oh,
I'm doing the actual cartoon voice of people I've heard say that before. So maybe just for 2 seconds, can you do a paid commercial for lean manufacturing in general?
Yeah. I mean, if I had a nickel for every time I heard that
I
exact sentence, you'd be looking behind me and seeing my helicopter. That's how many times I've
Next
heard it.
time I'll do it in the foghorn leghorn voice because that I think that might. And I don't want to knock anybody out there who's never who says that but doesn't understand because right now Brad's going to give us 2 seconds on how your thinking is going to change your shop forever. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. So, lean manufacturing at its core would be continuous improvement. You're looking for waste and eliminating waste. And then there's the lean toolbox that you can pull from to eliminate that waste. But everything starts from the main premise that everything that you make is a process and every process can be improved. And so
Mm,
even if you're the most custom person in the world, which 99% of people who say I'm too custom, like take this with a grain of salt, but you're not. You're making 5 boxes, or you're making a box with 5 pieces of wood and 2 doors on it. Parametrically, it's custom, but a kitchen's a kitchen. Everybody says they're custom, but there's aspects of that are not totally custom.
yeah,
But that doesn't mean lean doesn't apply. There's 5 million other places that you could apply lean principles and make huge benefit in your business. Like gains like no piece of equipment you could ever buy would give you.
right. Yeah.
So it applies to everything, and not just everything, but every business. It doesn't matter if you're a cabinet maker. It doesn't matter if you're in construction. It doesn't matter if you're an accountant, a
Hospital
lawyer,
systems use
insurance
lean.
company,
Yeah.
hospital.
Everybody. Yeah.
It's literally just changing your approach to the work with like a slight tweak based on proven principles. And um, there's nowhere that doesn't apply.
Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you. On behalf of all lean all over the world, Japan is quietly clapping on your behalf. The Toyota Way. Great book, by the way. I'll tell
Oh.
you what, you read that at the beach and nobody cares what you're reading. Maybe one person comes by and is like, hey, you're reading the Toyota Way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a yeah.
Yeah. I've noticed just because that's what I read when I finally get time to go to the beach. And it's, yeah, nobody's asking curious questions about it when they should. There's so much wisdom in there, like true wisdom. That's what I find in this is For those of
Well,
us
if
that seek intelligence, that's one thing. But if you seek wisdom, like really solid decisions based on solid logic, that's what I find in all of that thought.
yeah, well, we're on the topic of books. So the Toyota Way, we'll use that one for example, or 2 Second Lean, or the Lean Turnaround, or Henry Ford's book. That doesn't matter. I've got about three or four that stay in the foreground, because if you just listen to it and then you listen to the next one and the next one and the next one, it's the same as watching Netflix. Like, unless you read, implement, read, implement, read, implement,
Mm.
it's entertainment. So reading without implementation is entertainment. And if you read, like, I bet you I've been through the Toyota Way 300 times minimum,
Wow.
and no
Wow. Okay.
exaggerating. And every time I read it, something new. And I'm like, there's no way it was in there the first 299 times.
But it's the
But
same book on your
it's
same
the
shelf.
same book. And so what happens is, as you read, as you implement, you learn, and then you learn, and then you learn, and then you
Mm.
read it again, and you're catching things at an entirely different level. Like, your perspective keeps changing. So like the that book just continues it, like it's like as deep as the ocean. You can read it once and you catch the waves, and then you read it again, and you've got to read it and practice it,
And do it. Yeah.
you know,
The
to
stories.
get 2000 leagues under the sea, which is a long way to go.
So let's say that now we've sold everybody on lean. Everybody
Yes.
listening's like, I get it, I'm bought in, but I don't know where to start. I mean, this is very basic. This is barely Brad Cairns. This is, like because you guys are advanced. You do this all the time. But let's say I don't know where to start. Where do I start on finding process improvement? And by the way, what can I expect as returns? Because I don't want to do something for nothing.
Okay, you might have to remember the second question and ask me again.
I don't want to do something for nothing.
But
There,
okay,
I'll say
yeah,
it like
just
that.
just because um, I'll answer one question at a time in true lean fashion, which is what we call single piece flow.
Okay, there you go.
So where do I start? The most important place to start is sell yourself on it. If you
Mm.
if you think like, oh, maybe this won't work, or this isn't for me, like, one, don't call me. I'm not interested in convincing you lean is the way to go. I'm I'm when you discover it, I'm there for you. I will give you all of my life's energy, but I'm not going to try and convince you. Like, Google it. There's roughly 8 billion books, and they're not wrong, right? So first is be convinced yourself. And that is a that is a big step, because what you're going to have to do in your implementation very early on is burn the ships. Like, you're
Mhm.
going to have to let your whole team know, we're going this
We're
way.
doing this.
We're not going back, and it's going to be uncomfortable for a little while. And that is just a fact.
It's the same as going to the gym for the first time, or I don't know,
100%.
you pick something else.
100%.
Fly tying for the first time. It's going to look, everything's going to look like a fat bumblebee,
That's
right? It's
right.
just,
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. So where I would start was, I'm going to give my buddy Paul Akers a plug. He wrote a great book called 2 Second Lean. So
fantastic. Yeah.
start there. If you can read that, and if you can put it down, then you probably have a problem. Like, once you start reading that one, you just can't put it down until you're
Just the
till you're
stories
done.
alone are great. And by the way, let me add a plug to that Paul Akers book. Paul has had the foresight to put it in multiple languages.
Yep,
So I'll just, if you have a largely Hispanic crew, the book is in Spanish, right?
totally. Yep.
If you've got an Indonesian crew, the book is in Indonesian. Like he's removed all the possible objections for why you can't access the.
That's right.
It's really, um, it's very intelligent on his part.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's where I would start.
yeah,
Um, and once you as and it has to start at the top.
yeah.
If
If the
you're
leadership's not bought in,
Yeah, leadership's not bought in, don't even just go find another job where they are. Like, because it will not work if someone's trying to assign lean. Okay, let's do that lean thing.
yeah,
Because to answer your second question, what happens is, you have your production is here, and
mm,
then you start doing this lean thing, and it starts going down, and you're like, Lean doesn't work. This is where 99% of people throw in the towel and they just go back
Right.
up to here and carry on. But if you keep going, what happens is you start figuring it out, and then it starts going up and up and up and up
We
and
call
up
that
and
the
up and up.
sigmoid curve in business, in economics. It's the
Okay,
sigmoid curve. You have to go through a learning phase, right? Of conscious incompetence. Like we know we don't know, but
right.
having that ego, like that honest ego to say, I know I don't know, but I'm going to keep, I know this is the path. And then you get to conscious competence and this is already sounding like an economics podcast, which it's not.
Well, I'm learning. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
But you get to the unconscious competence. You get to that part where you're comfortable and that's how you normally operate.
Right.
Yeah. What are
So
so when you guys walk into a shop, what's an almost guaranteed place to say, hey, let's go change this and watch what happens. Watch the magic happen. Uh-oh.
I'm gonna give away my secret sauce in the first 9 minutes of your
Yeah,
podcast.
because I'm a good interviewer. That's exactly what you're gonna do.
Listen, it's so easy, you won't believe it. So every shop on earth is over processing right now, and they don't know
Hmm.
it. And because they don't know what overproduction, or sorry, not overprocessing, there's extreme overproduction going on.
Right.
So they they don't know that they're overproducing because they all think they're underproducing. We go to every shop and they're like, our problem isn't overproduction, our problem is underproduction. We need to produce more.
Hmm.
But overproduction is, by definition, simply producing more than the next step in the process can handle. So whether it's your CNC cutting more than your assembly can handle, whether your
Hmm.
assembly is building more than your installers can handle, something in there, and I guarantee it is overproducing.
So
And
if you got
so
racks, your rolling racks are full somewhere in the shop.
and everybody's knee-jerk reaction, we need to make more. Let's get more carts, let's get more racks, let's get more
Hmm.
rollers. And it's like literally the last thing that you need to make more. When we start working with customers, it's a running joke because the carts start piling up in the corner. And they're like, oh my
Oh,
God, we
the
thought
empty
we needed
carts.
more carts.
I
And
see.
there's
Yeah.
usually a stack like somewhere in the factory. Like, where are all these carts going? Because what ends up happening is you don't need more carts. You need more flow.
Pull. Okay. Right.
So, you know what I mean? You don't need a bigger garden hose. You just need more velocity through the garden hose.
Okay.
And so
So
what ends up happening is everyone's overproducing. And so we just find out where and we shut it off. And then we watch the owners have a heart attack.
I'm I have an important question right now.
Yes.
So, by the way, how do you solve that owner's heart attack? I think we should finish that.
um, well, basically they've hired us to come in. And so despite maybe not agreeing with what we're saying, they usually go along with it. Um, so we don't have that
how
problem.
how much faster, and this is hard because every shop is different and every piece that, every kitchen that we're making is different, but what are we talking about in terms of improvement when you move to that one piece flow, when you move to a pull versus a push, when you are things going through 10% faster? Are we achieving completed die fought 25%? Like what's our
Okay, so it's actually not that tough because it happens everywhere. It's about 50% improvement. Same team, same machine, same space, same labor, same everything.
So if it took me let's say 6 days to produce a project, I would now produce it in three.
Correct.
Crazy.
It and that, like I said, that you could go to every wood show on the planet. There's not one machine that will give you that overall result
Hmm.
that implementing a lean strategy will. Now, you're not going to get that 50% in the first week, but that's like a year down the road. If you stick with it, that's where you can expect to get to.
That's like saying I'm going to go do a triathlon tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can, but you probably shouldn't. But
Right.
you work towards it. Yeah. So here's the question I have, and I feel a little bit like a Geraldo Rivera or something. Boy, did I age myself with that. But it just occurred to me that one of the, if we talk to a Mark Sanderson, for instance, he talks a lot about pre-build and store. And I understand the business decision of that. I'm a big fan of it. Like I understand pre-build and store, but isn't that a form of overproduction, or am I overthinking it?
Nope, you nailed it. It's overproduction.
But it's intentional overproduction.
It is. And even within your system, we build in what we would call buffers
Hmm.
that are going to be an agreed amount of overproduction based on the
Ah,
constraints in your system that are going to allow your production to flow. Because what happens is we have what's called statistical fluctuation in manufacturing. So not every single machine or department works at the exact same tempo. So we
right.
have to deal with the fluctuation. And how you deal with the fluctuation is you build buffers in between your stations,
I get it.
depending on like a lot of factors basically, but someone who knows what they're doing, they can figure this out for you.
Yeah.
Um, we do allow some overproduction, but you first have to understand that that is waste, and you should be working towards getting rid of it. Like you should never put in a buffer and then go, oh, perfect, we're good for life. You should put in a buffer and say, we have stabilized our production today, and I hate that buffer, and I can't wait till it's gone.
Right. I think I learned this from Paul Akers as well. And one of the many times I've read his books is that go look for the bottleneck in your company and attack it with everything you've got, with the full confidence that another one's going to pop up as soon as you think you're quote unquote done, because you're not done. And that's
Right.
a change in mindset, a change in attitude for an owner to say, we're the kind of company that seeks, like we go look for those bottlenecks or those problems or those challenges. And like a schoolyard bully, we face them and we walk right up to them. But if we ignore it and we back up and we back up and we back up, guess what? There goes your lunch money.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. The
But
the
if you walk
fortune you're
towards it, you'll always come out ahead.
one of my favorite sayings is the fortune you're looking for is in your waste. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
because everyone says, oh, it's if we just make more, we're gonna make more money. But if you actually just track your defects, like just talk about defects, and you just got that money back, like I'll speak for myself, my company in 2023,
yeah.
$500,000 worth of defects. And I think we're pretty good. So
So you had a 500,000 in defects,
500,000 in
and
defects.
you're on it.
Yeah. I mean, and so when you have that data and you're tracking it, it empowers you to solve that problem. Because if there was $100,000
So
who's a
true.
what's it
Yeah.
machine, it's a no-brainer. I'm like 500K this year not to fix it, 100K to fix it, done deal.
Right. But and we talked about this before we got ready for the show. If you're not measuring a thing, you can't manage it.
Right.
If I don't track the number, you can't manage it.
So if we can jump back to your question about what's I just started doing lean. What's first? First is sell yourself. Whether you have to read 10 books or whatever, you get addicted and realize this is the way. And
Right.
I'll
Right.
I'll I'll tell you, I'll give you the answer. It's the way.
It's the
Um,
Toyota way.
yeah. And then second is immediately set up your metrics because you're going to need those to one, to prove to people that what you're doing is working,
Mm,
to celebrate with people when it's working. Like the minute you start seeing the indicators going in the right direction, I'm talking high fives and handshakes and thank yous
yeah.
and get your team fired up around those things. No different than a sports team with a scoreboard. There's no sport on earth that tracks the score 45 days after it happens, except in business.
Oh, that's a great way to say it. There's
It's,
there's no sport that tracks things 45 days after it happens,
yeah,
unless in business. That is tragic but true.
yeah.
We've got somebody that you and I know in common in Dallas. We'll leave his name out of this for a second. He has an internal chat, like I think it's a WhatsApp chat, where stations are saying, hey, here's the improvement we made today. And in the very beginning, it was kind of slow. He's like, one improvement a day, one improvement a week. He's like, I better put more energy into this. But when he tended it, like when he took care of it, and he went to people and said, what improvement did you make? You forgot to put it in the chat. Now he's got them there every single day from every station. People are making small changes, tiny little changes. But those changes go back to something I was talking about before when I asked you to sell me on lean. People often think we put lean in place to get our employees to work harder.
No,
Nope.
no,
Nope.
bad idea.
Logic, right? Yeah. But a lot of people, and maybe the people on the floor will say, well, you just want us to work harder. No, it's totally the opposite.
Yeah.
I want you to work smarter and a little bit less.
It's the chain is easier, better, faster, cheaper, and in that order. So the objective of lean, first and foremost, make your job easier. Then, whilst you're making it easier, we want to see quality going up. So we're going to see better. And then when your job's easier and your quality goes up, and you're not spending all day doing rework or fixing defects or whatever, you're actually making more product. You can spend more time on value-added activity for your customer. Therefore, you're building things faster. And once you're made easier, better, and faster, it's up to you. Do you need to go to the marketplace cheaper, or you have the option to go cheaper? But 99.9% of the time with a lean implementation, you're providing what's required, when it's required, at the price it's required, and people are not like, they're not coming after you on price. Your delivery performance is so good, often you can get more money.
You get a premium. Yeah, you would get a premium.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, this is the best time ever to be in our industry. So people are not beating us up on price right now. They're like, it's more a challenge, I think. When can I get on the schedule? Right? Because they've waited for all the other trades. By the time they get to us, they want to pressure us as well. We're like, well, we can't get you in there for X weeks. You know, one of the things that you and I worked on is the answer to a lot of these things, Brad. Most people don't know it. I think I've snuck it into a couple of the end of these episodes, but most people don't know this lean self-assessment.
Right.
And you and I have already, I mean, you've come to me and you said, Dom, actually, there's some things I think we could change, but we're going to do that in the future. Because unless people get a hold of this, they're never going to know where to start.
Agree.
So we'll, if anybody wants that, we've got a document that Brad and I worked on called Fixing the Wasted Efforts Profit Leak, the lean self-assessment tool.
And this ties like perfectly into, get yourself addicted to lean, set up your metrics, do the assessment, and then as your metrics start moving in the right direction, do the assessment again. Like this assessment should happen.
You're talking about this assessment. Like,
yeah, it should happen every 6 months or every 3 months. It's an evergreen tool. So that you can celebrate with your team. Hey, look, we're doing this. We're doing that,
Anything that we can measure with our team, anything that we can visually show is a much more powerful tool than talking about.
You know what? And we learned that lesson in spades because we're doing the same thing. We're measuring with this silly financial statement, which is absolutely the worst possible measurement you could even entertain on the factory floor. So for your business coach, yes. Your accountant, yes. The government, yes. Your team on the shop floor, heck no. Because that's looking in the rearview mirror. We want to look out at the front windshield. And so we have discovered that there are 4 metrics that are magical for woodworkers. Do you want to know what they are?
I sound like Bill Burr in one of his what are these 4 metrics that you speak of?
Okay, so the first one is what we call an over the line chart. And so this over the line chart basically plots your break even for the month. And then you post what we call the burn rate line, which goes from 0 up into joining. If you picture a bar graph, that line is joining in the top right corner. So now you can see your break even point and you can see the rate at which you're burning cash on average. Not filing our taxes with this, but we get a visual. And then every day, the bars on the bar graph, we post our throughput. And so every single day, I can visually see, and at my company, my whole team looks at this chart every morning, and we can see, are we on track? Are we keeping up with the rate that we're burning cash with what the company is outputting? And then also that gives everyone a visual of when you start making money. And also there's, the real gas that you could add to the flame there is the bonus system tied to that. So that's your over the line chart is number one metric that I believe everybody should be running.
Want to be over the line. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's number two?
Number two is your throughput dollars per labor hour. And so this means we take your throughput dollars, which is sales minus material. We could probably do a whole show on that, but just like
That's a great suggestion.
Just take my word for it. It can be done. So you take your sales minus material, that's your throughput dollar, and you divide it by how much labor you've put into the system that day. All of it. And so now you have a measure of your labor's effectiveness. So if I bought a new machine, the next day, my throughput dollars should go up. Or depending on how clunky your system is, like if it takes 8 days for something
installed and balanced and an electrician to show up. You mean after that?
Yeah. I mean, like but it will reflect that measurement so fast. And this is a decision checker, right? You hire someone. I hired a new person. My throughput dollars should go down for about a week because they're useless. But now they're starting to be useful, and I expect my throughput dollars to go up. So whether you hire someone, whether you buy a machine, whether you just make a major decision, whether you change a process or make an improvement, this measurement literally shows up the next day. No other measurement does. So labor effectiveness is measured with throughput dollars per labor hour.
Nice.
Number 3, minutes per piece.
Love this one.
So this one is, how many pieces did I ship today? And if you tell me you're custom, you don't ship pieces. Like for us, the door company, we ship pieces. It's easy, right? On the machine side, we don't ship a machine. Like we're not shipping 10 machines a day. We can't count pieces. So for anyone who's custom or their throughput length, like their process time is more than 1 day, then we just flip pieces into points and we develop a point system and we track points during the day. So it's still an easy translation. But what this one does is a feedback loop to your estimating department. And I mean, and a darn good one, right? Like exactly how many minutes on average does it take us to produce a piece or a point?
Yeah, because then we can estimate profitably.
So accurately. And then the last one is pieces per day. And so the reason you need pieces per day is because on one side of the equation, you have what we call your tack time, which is your rate of customer demand. So if you have, if you're making 1 kitchen a day, you probably want to break that down into boxes and say our tack time, the rate of customer demand is 50 boxes a day. So if you measure your pieces per day, you can balance that with your tack time. You don't want to be producing more than what's coming in. You don't want to be producing less than what's coming in. But the reason you can't use that measurement on its own is because pieces per day can be affected by labor. So yeah, we hit our 50 boxes a day, but we hired 92 people to do it. So effectively we went bankrupt in 1 day.
Yeah. Or it was Thanksgiving and there was a long weekend and we lost, 3 guys worth of labor.
Yes. So you can't, so all of these measurements on their own are not, it's like flying an airplane. There's not one dial that says you're flying. Yeah. Yeah. There's like
That's
10
awesome.
gauges,
I've never
right?
heard that before.
Yeah. So we got to know how high we are. We got to know how fast we're going. We got to know which direction we're
Uh,
going. We got to know if we're level,
yeah.
and it's the same with the business. You got to look at your pieces per day and go, good, we hit that target. But how is our throughput dollars per labor hour? Because that also has to be in check for those
Yeah.
metrics to make sense.
It's the operational metrics that, you were asking earlier, what do we do with a company? And so often people think I got to look at my financials, and you do. I agree, but not all of your financials. There are so many numbers in any business that it would just bog down any owner from any business from getting things done.
Yeah.
But if you look at your numbers as green lights or red lights, this is managing by exception. As long as you've got a number and it's steady green, that's fine. But when it starts to flash orange or amber, then you start to pay attention to it. But if you've got to imagine this big dashboard in front of you and most of it's green, you're kind of okay. Just go look at what's amber or red and deal with that today. And it takes a while to get there, but once you're there, golf, fishing, skiing,
Yes.
travel, kiteboarding, if you're Paul
If you're
Akers,
Paul,
what? Yeah.
yeah.
I cannot remember a meeting I've been in with Paul that he's not strumming his guitar. I'm like, that seems kind of cool. Like, I don't know how to play guitar, but he's always strumming his guitar in meetings. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
that's what it could look like when you
Yeah.
get to that
Yeah.
point. But you've got to get the green light steady and the amber lights and the red lights. You can look at the flashing lights and go, oh my God, the lights are flashing. Or you could say, excellent, I'm glad. Look, we got one.
Yeah.
Now I know what to go fix.
Well, and that's the, when you've got this dashboard working, it's just so obvious what you need to do on a daily basis. Like when you post your throughput daily against your burn rate on cash, and you look at that chart up on the wall in the morning with your team, like we're celebrating or we're planning to make it better. Because I don't remember what I had for lunch 2 days ago. So when you ask me, hey, well, we had a bad month in October, what are we going to fix? I have no idea. None. So
But
those metrics are
you
just
can go
those
back
are
and
the
look at the
ones that
metrics.
fly your woodworking airplane, so to speak.
Yeah. I think we're going to have you back, Brad. There's no way. There's no way we got deep enough into this topic today. What do you
Well,
think?
everybody got, what to do first. Get yourself 2 second lean, get reading, get addicted, set
Mhm.
up your metrics. If you want to run what we're running, we just run Kaizenify. It's a service they can contact you
Yeah, they can contact me for Kaizenify, right?
for
Yeah, I'll
Kaizenify.
help
So
them. Yeah.
just reach out to Dom. And if you want to see how we're using it, it's on our website. We just post a lean tools and resources tab. So they're addicted, they're measuring, they're going to do the lean assessment, and then they're going to go, uh-oh, we need to start fixing things. What did Brad say about overproduction? How do we find that? And that's where our next podcast should come in.
Yeah. How do I fix overproduction? Let me write that down. Um, because yeah, I could see you coming back for a series. Um, how can I fix overproduction? That should be our focus for next year. We're close enough to the end of the year that we're already thinking about our programming.
Yeah.
And I like having themes like this that are running themes where we just keep revisiting it, because staying top of mind, especially for business owners, so many competing things.
Mm,
There's a site super calling somebody. There's a samples that have to get ordered. There's something wrong with the paint station. They're buying a new, you know, edge band or whatever it is.
right.
There's a lot of
Well,
things. So we got to keep educating ourselves.
one thing I want to make sure that we get across to the audience, because this is sometimes something that scares people away from lean, is don't wait. Like lean is not something extra in your day. In like, oh, I don't have time to do that lean thing. I'm going to wait till we're not so busy. It's like wrong. When you're busy is the best time to do it. The best, because you can see quicker results because you get to do more reps faster. But it's not an extra to your day. It literally, you're going to do the same work. You're just going to go about it a different way. So don't get bogged down like, oh, I'll wait a week or two or three. There's no time. Like now is the time.
Now's the time. Yeah. It's a change in mindset. It's a success mindset. right? So, well, one of the things that we've learned over the years, and you've probably seen this, is the companies that measure things. They're just
Yeah.
always a company that measures things. Now, even if they're measuring the wrong things, they're still measuring things. But people know the culture of our business is we measure things. The culture of our business is we proactively find problems and we fix them.
Right.
And so, just because you fix a problem today doesn't mean that there's not going to be a problem in the future. But your company's now trained on how to find problems and fix them.
Yeah. My team at my factory, everyone thinks we're nuts. I mean, everyone who's not lean, like whoever's already lean listening to this is going to be, yeah, us too. But we do not work for 1 hour a day at my factory. And if I
That's
catch
a hard
someone
one to
working,
get. Yeah.
if I catch them working during that hour, I'm losing my mind. I'm like, this is not work time. This is improvement time. And so
Yeah.
we spend 30 minutes on the factory and 30 minutes on the people every single day.
That's beautiful. And it's you're not adding value to the product at that point,
No.
right? So that would be you would think that's counter to lean because we're only getting paid for adding value to the product, but you're adding value to the process
And the people.
and the people. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it, like you just got to think about it. If I spend half an hour improving every day, so we call it that hour, and our process gets, a minute better every day. Well, that only takes 30 days until my improvement time is paid for. It only takes 30 days until my meetings are paid for. So in 60 days, I'm on free time.
So you've led me to another question, and we should probably end on this one. But does lean solve the overtime thing?
Oh my God, instantly.
Okay, we probably should have led with that one. How many well, think about how many business owners out there are estimating jobs
Yeah,
at straight time.
yeah.
And then we run into production issues, and now we're into overtime, which
Oh my,
leads to the conversation you're having with good old Rubino here. Dom, we're busy, but we're not making money. My staff is annoyed because they have to work, late
yeah.
or weekends. How do we solve this overtime thing? And you're just nodding your head for those who can't see this on the video. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah,
Tell us
I
about
mean,
how this solves the OT problem.
really, I'm thinking of one client in particular, it's one of the first questions we ask. So if someone calls and it's like, because some bean counter somewhere wants to justify this getting some help with your lean transformation, right? And it's not cheap to have consultants come in and help you. Our first question is, you work overtime right now? And they're like, oh yeah, it's crazy. One company we worked at $700,000 worth of overtime. And I'm
What?
like, is a big company. And I'm like, okay, well, you can stop thinking about the cost of us now because that's going to
Yes.
go away in like a month. Maybe we should get a bonus or something,
Yeah.
So, and it's not like there's not a magic pill that says I get rid of overtime, but as soon as you start connecting process, as soon as you start creating flow, as soon as you start not making so many defects, your
Right.
value add time just goes through the roof. And I can't even remember the last time we worked overtime at my shop.
Yeah. So many shops
Yeah,
say the same thing after, putting processes in place. It's like overtime's gone. And
yeah.
it just the culture of the company when overtime's gone, because these are moms and dads that still have to get their kids to baseball and or get home in time so their wife can go do what she wants to do. And you're talking about impacting families now by making the investment. Anyways, listen, this is a love fest. We need
Oh
to
my
wrap it up here. The love fest.
Okay.
Brad, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, you've got like 4 different operating companies you just mentioned, but what's the easiest way to reach you?
Can you tell them the number that I
Well,
gave you? Let's
yeah.
just
I mean, should they just
text.
text Lynn? For the people
Yeah,
who haven't met Lynn, Lynn is wonderful and very wise and knows this stuff inside and out. Lynn's cell phone number is 226-971-2144. Now, when they text Lynn,
no,
what
text the word improvement
there you
to
go.
that number.
Yeah. Just say improvement, and then Lynn will know what the heck you're talking about
That's right,
because
and she'll
Lynn's
know
not
where
in
you
this
came
meeting
from.
right now.
That's correct.
Yeah. Uh,
She couldn't make it. She was on site with customers today, and she's bummed out that she couldn't be here. But
yeah.
next one.
Next one. But let me repeat the number so that people have it. So just
Okay.
text the keyword improvement to Lynn, and her cell is 226-971-2144. And then you can start to have this conversation. And for those of you whose eyes perked up when I said overtime, that's when you text Lynn the word improvement that I just said there, right? Brad, we're definitely going to have you back again. This has been great. And I think we've opened up, 3 or 4 more topics that we could develop over the year. So I'm looking forward to that as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me on the show, Dom. I think I don't know if we should have a spoiler alert, but just maybe there's a possibility
Mm,
of us teaming up in some small way to help customers, but who knows?
maybe.
Who
Who
knows?
knows? We'll see. Stay tuned, folks.
Stay
You never
tuned.
know. You never know. All right, Brad, thank you very much. Say hi to Lynn for me. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Dom.
Bye. Well, well, well. What did you learn from Mr. Brad Cairns? High energy guy. Always love talking to Brad. Lots of great ideas, lots of energy, lots of things to actually put in place that are reality based, not theory. Of course, a reminder, his podcast is called The Shop Floor. You can see it on YouTube. You can see this show on YouTube as well. Come and join us there. There's lots of other episodes here on YouTube or in the podcast that relate to lean and waste in manufacturing and profitability. You'll find lots of free learning resources, really. Just have to plug and play. And you'll hear where I bring in some of the best guests in the industry to help us with that. But really, just think about what you could put in place. I just want you to put one thing in place today. Imagine, here, let's do a quick exercise. Imagine that you found one idea from myself or Brad today. And then you took the bull by the horns, you put that thing in place. Now, I want you to imagine that one thing made you an extra $100 a day. Okay, so we're going to talk about this in the positive. It made you money. Maybe you found something that saved you $100 a day, but let's just say it made you an extra $100 a day. Is there something that you could do in your business that would make you an extra $100 a day? Finishing jobs sooner, answering emails faster so that a project gets done sooner, so we'd be done on time, so we don't get caught up in delays. Something like that. You all have your own situations. Well, if you found $100 a day, 250 days of the year, that's 100 times 250 is 25 grand. Literally laying on the floor of your shop. It's $25,000. And if you're not putting those things in place, you're missing that opportunity. Right? That's $25,000. So is there value in having a guest like Brad Cairns here? There is, if you take action and put something in place. Of course, I talked about it as making an extra $100 a day, but if you decided you learned something here today that would save you $100 a day, just $100, that's another 25 grand. Now, for some of you out there, especially the go-getters in this world, you're going to say, well, I can find a way to make an extra $100 and I can I can find a way to save an extra $100. So are you telling me, Dom, that just by putting these simple systems in place, I could be pulling out another 50 grand a year from the business? And I'd say, yeah. But I want to remind you that 50 grand sounds pretty, it's just floating out there. It's like, oh, it'd be nice, another 50 grand. But, think about what your family could do with $50,000. How many of you are really interested in homeschooling your kids, but you can't because your spouse has a job outside of the home and needs to make money and maybe brings home around 50 grand? It's what you can do with the money, not the money itself, right? And usually the questions always come back to family. Actually, that takes me to our Simplify and Solve training program today. We've got a client. We work with them for a couple of months. They do architectural millwork, commercial, supply only, no install. How many of you are shaking your head thinking, oh my God, that sounds like a dream? They got a team of 10. Sales are 1.5-ish, which is tight. 10 people and sales of 1.5, they're right on the line. And it goes to show their profits right now are abysmal. Well, they're increasing as we talk because the profits were abysmal. We're starting to find a lot of opportunity for them to make and save money and time. And so things have turned around already pretty quickly. But here's the situation. The real situation that started the whole conversation was about time. The owner is 100% work, totally consumed with running the shop and running the business and taking care of clients. And at some point, taking care of family, maybe in there, right? Here's a couple of the problems that he outlined for us. Problem number one, the amount of time it takes to enter orders and gather all the info. How many of us have that problem? How about problem number two, money? We burn all of our profits getting jobs out the door, late and with rework. Ugh. That's why I wanted to talk about this particular segment lined up with Brad as a guest, right? Because we talked today about that rework. Problem number three, rework loses confidence with our clients. So not only is the work getting out the door, but now the clients think, do we use Acme again? Because it's always a headache. There's always rework. And here's the big one. Problem number 4. My wife says she's a single mom, and it's only funny because it's true. That's a quote from a coaching meeting. How many of you are in that situation? And my friend, that can only go on so long before somebody says so long. The solution for them is they're doing business coaching with us, with our team. My team and I have 3 meetings a month with them. We built them a strategic plan. We showed them how to put together a 10-year vision, a 3-year plan, a 1-year plan, and out of all of that comes the coaching agenda itself, which is broken into 90-day coaching agendas, 3-month sprints, if you will. 3 months of let's do this. Then the next 3 months, we're going to do that. It is a step-by-step methodical process for turning the business around. And now you might go, well, it all sounds good. Sure, it's not for me. It's for other people. How long before I see results? All those questions. Those are good questions. It's hard to say. I don't actually have the answer for you. It's different for everybody. Here's what I can say with these guys, though. We found $4,000 in hard money waste by the 3rd meeting. $4,000 in hard money waste. And that's $4,000 one time, not recurring, because those wastes, for different companies, they happen daily, weekly, monthly, annually. But imagine for you, it only happened twice a year. If you found $4,000 that was being wasted twice a year, there you go. There's $8,000 that they just found by the 3rd meeting. You're just never going to know unless you get into it. It's like anything else. You're never going to know unless you get into it. You need to hang around with other people who are talking the talk, living the same life you are, and finding their way through the wilderness, literally, to make this work for them. All right. I wanted to simplify and solve a common business problem. I outlined how many there? 4 business problems and a solution, right? Potential solutions. If you want some other assets that you can use for yourself, it's that time of year when we start to think about what next year holds. And so we've got a training coming up. It's only available to members of this audience. It's called Make 2025 Your Best Year Ever. And that event is going to happen in December. Now, you need a workbook in advance because you need to fill in the workbook before you attend the training. So send me a text if you want to get the workbook and be on the invite list. Just send me a text that says, say best year ever waitlist, and get the workbook and get registered. And then put that time aside in your calendar, pour yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, and get ready for a very specific training for our industry on how you can make 2025 your best year ever. Wouldn't that be nice? One other thing. If you've got a business partner who's not on board, if you've got a foreman who's not on board, if you maybe have a family member who's not on board with growth or the changes that you want to put in place, or maybe the kind of vision that you have for the growth of this shop, this business that you've built, how do you get them unstuck? Or how do you start to get them seeing some of the things that you've already realized? And I know you've realized them because you listen to this show or watch it on YouTube. Get them on the meeting. What a great way to do things, right? Invite them to the meeting, get them to do the work, but get them to sit in, and then you can sit back and go, you think about that Rubino guy, make 2025 our best year ever. What would we even do? But you start the conversation. That's all you got to do. Get the conversation started. Make me the bad guy. Just add it to the list. I'm fine. Throw me under the bus, right? But put it out there as an option. If you don't give those lines of direction, if you don't give that hope, like shine some sort of light on the direction you want to go, how are they going to know to follow? Now, maybe they say no, but at least you've opened up the conversation. So if you got a foreman that's resistant, or a family member that's resistant, or a business partner that's resistant to any sort of change, you have to take small steps and kind of respect their path. Maybe they need to internalize things or think it through. I don't know, whatever it is. To throw me under the bus. Say, hey, I signed us up for this webinar. It's in December. There's a dumb workbook the guy gave us. And just fill it. I don't know. Have a look at it. Be casual about it, but then get on the webinar and blame me. At the end of it, turn to your partner, turn to your family member and go, what'd you think of the Rubino guy? And they're going to say, yeah, it was all right. What was interesting is what he said about X, Y, and Z. I've been wanting to talk to you about that forever. And you say to yourself, oh my God, really? I've been talking to you about that forever. You see, that's how the conversation starts. That's all we need. Anyways, that's the first thing that I promised. Get on the wait list for the best year ever training. and you need the workbook in advance. And so what I'd like you to do is print it off, take some notes on it. And that way you'll be able to make the most of the meeting itself if you have some pre-work done in advance. It's not a lot of extra work because I know you're already busy doing takeoffs and getting back to customers, but it is important that you do it. The second thing is a document that Brad and I worked on together. And it's a self-assessment tool. Again, you could use this with your partner, your foreman, family member, just on your own. It's how to fix the wasted efforts profit leak, the money that's just leaking out of your business, just oozing out. It's there, but because we're not paying attention, the money just kind of goes out the door. It slips under the loading door and just floats away into the world. You're wasting money. So this self-assessment tool allows you to figure out where that waste is happening. And once you've identified the problem, you've half solved the problem, right? So if you want to have that lean self-assessment tool that Brad and I created, text me as well. You guys know the cell phone number. Just text me at 315-903-7853 and just say either wasted efforts tool or best year ever waitlist. What did I say for that? Best year ever or best year ever waitlist. I'll know what you mean. Just text me. Anyways, folks, I appreciate you checking in. Brad, thank you very much for being a guest on the show. Folks, I can't wait until the time when you and I have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee across the table from each other. That's actually why I do this, because we're just filling time until you and I meet. Thanks for checking in. We'll talk to you soon.